Good evening, members of the committee, applicants, agents, staff, and members of the public. We are now starting the meeting for Committee of Adjustment for March 16th, 2023. As this meeting is also being held virtually, I will remind you that meeting is being recorded and streamed live via the County of Brant YouTube account. Committee of Adjustment members joining online should use their cameras throughout the meeting so that applicants, agents, and members of the public can identify the voting members and we can confirm you are present throughout the meeting. Planning staff will be requested to join the meeting during presentations and will be available to answer questions. Applicants, agents, owners, and delegations are also participating virtually. All persons wishing to speak to the items on the agenda were required to register prior to the meeting. Any comments, questions, or concerns received in written format have been provided to the members of the committee and will form part of the meeting record. Applicants, agents, and members of the public, please ensure your camera is off, your microphone is on mute throughout the meeting, and your name is correct on the Zoom screen. When called upon to speak, please remember to unmute your microphone and turn on your camera before speaking. Those presenting as delegations will have 10 minutes to speak to the application at hand, not past applications or associated applications. In the event a connection or service interruption occurs that affects quorum of Committee of Adjustment, we may recess the meeting for up to 15 minutes to regain quorum. If quorum is not achieved, the meeting is adjourned. If you are present in council chambers this evening and wish to speak, please come to the podium and speak into the microphone. This meeting is held in accordance with the provision of the Planning Act. The purpose of this meeting is to discuss minor variance and consent applications and give anyone in attendance the opportunity to ask questions, provide comments related to an application. Notice of this meeting was provided by mail and signed, posted by staff as required by the Planning Act. A copy of the meeting agenda, including the staff report, related materials, and comments received are available on the County of Brant website. Once the presentations, public hearing, and question period are complete for each item, if the committee deems it appropriate, they will make a decision. Each committee decision is final following the 20-day appeal period. Please note the sign-in sheet at the entrance if you are attending in person and wish to be notified of any decision from this evening. Kindly note your name and address and application on the sign-in sheet. If you do not request a copy of the sign-in sheet, you will not be notified. Since there are members of the public, please sign in on the sheet at the back. The names of those individuals who speak on any item tonight will appear within the meeting minutes. Anyone wishing to receive further notice or a copy of the committee's decision, please contact the County of Brant Planning Department. The order of delegation are as follows: Planning staff report and recommendation, applicant and agent presentation, questions and discussions, public comments, further questions of clarification, and the decision. Immediately following the Committee of Adjustment meeting this evening, we will be having a property standard appeal. I will now take attendance. Please indicate by stating present if you are in attendance. Mary Jane Brown, present. Harry Emmett.
Present.
Bob Hamilton.
Present.
Jane Peneg.
Present.
Rebecca Smith is absent for this meeting. Noted. Steve Schmidt.
Present.
And John Vamus.
Present.
Thank you. We will now move to item 2, approval of agenda. Do any members have items to be added to the agenda? I believe there are none. May I request a mover and seconder to approve the agenda? Member Emmett and Member Peneg, please provide your motion.
Moved by myself and second by Member Schmidt that the agenda for the County of Brant Committee of Adjustment meeting of March 16th, 2023 be approved.
Thank you. Members, please indicate if you are in favor of the motion, starting with Member Emmett,
Yes.
Member Penag,
Yes.
Member Vamus,
Yes.
Member Schmidt,
Yes.
Member Hamilton,
Yes.
and Brown, yes. The motion has carried. The agenda for this meeting has been approved. We will now move to item 3, declaration of pecuniary interest. Are there any members who would like to declare a conflict of interest for any items on the agenda this evening? I believe there are none. We will now move on to item 4, adoption of the minutes from the previous meetings of January 19th and February 16th. Do the committee members have any errors or omissions to note? And I believe we will need a motion for each prior minutes because we did not receive January minutes. Did I have a motion for the January? Member Hamilton? Seconder? Member Penag? Could I have your motion, please, Member Hamilton?
Yes.
Thank you, and I'll now call a vote. Please indicate if you are in favor, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Member Penag?
Yes.
Member Vamus?
Yes.
Member Schmidt?
Yes.
Member Hamilton?
Yes.
And Brown, yes. Motion to approve the minutes from the January 19th Committee of Adjustment meeting has been approved. And we will now I now request a motion for the minutes of February 16th. Member Schmidt, and second, Member Vamus. Could I have your motion, please, Member Schmidt? Thank you, and I'll now call the vote, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Member Penag?
Yes.
Member Vamus?
Yes.
Member Schmidt?
Yes.
Member Hamilton?
Yes.
And Brown, yes. The motion has carried. The minutes from the meeting of February 16th have been approved. And I will now introduce the item 6.1 for application A323AA and turn it over to staff for the presentation of the report and recommendation.
Good evening, Committee of Adjustment and members of the public. This is a minor variance application for the lands located at 37 Washington Street. The subject lands are located on the southwest corner of Catherine Street and Washington Street intersection within Paris, Ontario. The minor variance application is required to permit an accessory structure with a height of 5.25 meters, whereas 4.5 meters is required, and a rear yard setback of 1.01 meters, whereas 1.2 meters is required. The subject lands are designated urban residential in the County of Brant official plan. The minor variance is in conformity with the County of Brant official plan as the urban residential designation allows for residential uses. The subject lands are zoned residential singles and semis within the County of Brant zoning bylaw. A detached garage is permitted within the residential zone, and all other requirements for an accessory structure as per the bylaw are being satisfied. The dwelling is on municipal services and no adverse impacts are expected as part of the structure, as well as one public comment has been received in support of the proposal. I am in support of the application as it is in keeping with the intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw. The request is minor in nature and will not impact adjacent land uses. I am recommending approval of the minor variance application subject to the attached conditions. Thank you and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Arwa, for the presentation. Does the committee have any questions or comments to staff? Member Hamilton, please.
Excuse me, through the chair to the planner. From my understanding, this is, the building's already up. Well, I've seen it, it's up. And is this really just to cover off, they jumped the traces and didn't go ahead and get a permit, and now they've applied for the permit?
Through the chair to Member Hamilton, they were in the process of a permit, and then they realized that it's an inconformity, and then this is why it came up for minor variance. And as part of the conditions, we are requiring that they get a building permit, as well as we are supposed to be reviewing it as if the proposal's not there, just in terms of.
What is the current status of the building permit?
It's in, I guess it's in progress due to the minor variance application that needs to be.
Okay, so it cannot be put forward until this minor variance may or may not get approved.
I believe so, yeah.
Thank you.
Any further comments or questions from the committee for staff? And I believe the applicant or their agent is present. Yes, do you have anything can you identify yourself?
Yes, it's Bob Phillips from J.H. Cahoon Engineering. Yes, the owner did jump the gun on the construction here, and then realized that he was not in conformance with the zoning bylaw, and as such, he applied for the minor variance. And we're seeking committee approval of it so that we can proceed. We do note that planning staff is in support of this application, and there is, from my understanding, only one letter which is positive and supportive of the application, and as such, we're seeking approval of the committee. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Are there any further comments or questions from the committee? Member Hamilton, please go ahead.
Through the chair to the agent, is this a two-story building?
Yes, it is, and that's necessitated the variance on the height of the structure. The second story is just used for storage, additional storage within the garage.
A backup question to that one, if I may. Is the applicant planning on putting water into this facility or not?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right, thank you.
Any further comments or questions, Mr. Phillips? Member Vamus.
Through the chair to Mr. Phillips. To your knowledge, is the applicant did a survey before he started construction, or did he get a permit before construction?
Well, he did not get a permit. That's clear. I think there was some confusion on the behalf of the applicant about what the required setbacks were. And as such, it's, I think, less than 8 inches closer to the line than what is permitted in the bylaw.
And then finally, what date did the construction stop at? Just recently, or?
No, it's been some time. I don't know the exact date.
Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? And since the applicant is here on this, did you wish to add anything to the Mr. Phillips presentation or stuff? No? Thank you. And there were no public delegations. Okay. So if there are no further questions or comments from the committee, then I'll ask the committee member to put forth their motion, and then I'll request a seconder. Member Emmett, please go ahead, state your motion. Thank you. Is there a seconder? Member Hamilton? I will now call the vote. Members, please indicate if you are in favor of this motion, starting with Member Emmett,
Yes.
Member Panag,
Yes.
Member Vamus,
No.
Member Schmidt,
Yes.
Member Hamilton,
Yes.
and Brown, yes. The motion has carried. The application has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You. I will now introduce the item 6.2 for application A523 LG and turn it over to staff for the presentation of the report and recommendation.
Good evening, Committee of Adjustment and members of the public. This is a minor variance application for lands located at 435 McLean School Road within the geographic township of South Dumfries. The subject lands are located north of McLean School Road, east of McPherson School Road, and west of Brant Road. The subject lands contain one existing dwelling. The existing lot is rectangular in shape with an area of 2,584 square meters and a frontage of 43 meters. The subject lands are in proximity to the Glen Morris Ridge Wetland Complex located on adjacent lands and are located within the regulation limit of the Grand River Conservation Authority. As a result of a technical review, it has been confirmed no environmental studies are required as part of the application. The surrounding area consists of agricultural land uses to the north, south, and east, and residential land uses to the west. The subject lands are privately serviced by well and septic. The applicants are requesting relief from Section 9, Table 9.2.1 of the County Brant Zoning Bylaw 6116 to permit a reduced rear yard setback of 9.52 meters, whereas 15 meters is required to facilitate the construction of a residential addition. The subject lands are identified to be within an archaeological resource area. A Stage 1 and 2 archaeological assessment were required to determine whether the subject lands contain archaeological significance that may impact future development. Based on the findings of the report, it was determined the study area was sufficiently assessed and no further archaeological assessment is required. The attached elevations display the proposed addition to the rear of the dwelling. The subject lands are designated as rural residential within the County of Brant official plan and zoned as rural residential within the County of Brant zoning bylaw 6116. No public comments were received as part of the public circulation. I am recommending approval of the variance application for the reasons outlined in my report. It is my professional recommendation that minor variance A523LG be approved subject to the attached conditions. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Lauren, for the report and presentation. Does the committee have any questions or comments to staff? I believe there are none. Oh, Member Vamus.
Through the chair to the staff, can you put that one picture up again that that shows the, I don't have that in my book. Okay, because I just wanted from our picture, couldn't tell if it was it's going to be connected or is there going to be a breezeway or.
Through the chair to Member Vamos, so it will be connected to the existing dwelling.
So we didn't have that one picture, so I wasn't sure. Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
Any further comments or questions? I believe there are none. I believe the applicant is present. Do you have it? can you identify yourself and state if you wish to add anything to staff's report?
Hi, good evening. My name's Leanne Fraser, and I'm here representing both my mother and I. Basically, as Lauren had said, it is a residential application that we're asking for. The purpose of the addition is for my mom to come live with us. So it's kind of been a process for us. And my father passed away, unfortunately, and this is what we're trying to do to get my mom so she can live with her family.
Do committee members have any comments or questions? Applicant?
Madam Chair, I have a question. What's at the rear of the property?
It's basically a fenced-in backyard, and then beyond that, there is, I think, as it shows, there is a portion of a pond, which I believe the GRCA have been involved as well with this process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? Staff or the applicant? I believe there are none. I'll ask the committee now if someone is willing to make a motion, and please state it. Member Hamilton?
Not myself. The application A5-LG be approved minor in nature.
Thank you. Is there a second? Member Schmidt, I'll now call the vote, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Member Schmidt,
Yes.
Member Vamus,
Yes.
Member Hamilton,
Yes.
Member Panay,
Yes.
and Member Brown, yes. The motion has carried to approve, so the application has been approved. Thank you. I will now introduce the item 6.3 for application B6-23LG and turn it over to staff for the presentation of the report and the recommendation.
This is a consent application for lands located at 17 McVeigh Road within the geographic township of Oakland. The subject lands are located east of Colburn Street East and south of McVeigh Road. The subject lands contain an existing single detached dwelling. They are irregular in shape with a frontage of 122 meters, a depth of 140 meters, and an area of approximately 2.3 hectares. The surrounding area consists of low-density residential and agricultural land uses. The subject lands are privately serviced by well and septic. The applicants are proposing the creation of one new residential lot in the rural residential zone on private services. The subject lands will have an area of approximately 5,400 square meters and a frontage of 40 meters along McVeigh Road, and the retained lands, which contain the existing dwelling, will have an area of approximately 17,910 square meters and a frontage of 81.6 meters along McVeigh Road. The lands were subject to a zoning bylaw amendment application, ZBA 3922DN, that was approved by Council on January 31st, 2023. The zoning bylaw amendment proposed to rezone the subject lands from agriculture to rural residential to facilitate one future lot creation within the rural residential area. The subject lands are identified to be within an archaeological resource area. A stage 1 and 2 archaeological assessment were required to determine whether the subject lands contain archaeological significance that may impact future development potential. Based on the findings of the report, it was determined the study area has been sufficiently assessed and is free from further archaeological concern. Detailed review of the proposed new lot development will be completed as part of the building permit review process. The subject lands are designated as rural residential within the County of Brant official plan and zoned as rural residential within the zoning bylaw 6116. No public comments were received as part of the public circulation. I am recommending approval of the consent application for the reasons outlined in my report. It is my professional recommendation that consent application B623LG be approved subject to the attached conditions. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Through the chair to staff, I know that there's a comment here that for potable water and that it's not in the conditions, it's set up that it will be with a building permit. But if somebody goes ahead and buys the lot and then finds out after there's no water, shouldn't there be water designated first or part of a condition on one of the conditions added to the severance?
Through the chair to Member Hamilton, we would be able to add it as a we would be able to add it as a condition. However, it would be an acknowledgement that it is a requirement because it is something that's only at the building permit stage.
Okay, and second to that is the flowability. That area has been notorious. We have had, or the county has turned down 2 or 3 severances in the past or made it very difficult and it didn't come due to lack of water. That's why I'm wondering about having it as a condition put in, even as an acknowledgement. That's my concern.
Okay, certainly that can be added.
Okay, thank you.
I do not believe so. To the chair, so the deficiency was relating to a sightline analysis. So through that, they're requesting a 0.3 meter reserve.
Through the chair, just to follow up on that there, where exactly was that 3.3 meter? Was it away from the house or I mean, yeah, the laneway for the house at the far end, the top of the hill, or was it or was the laneway to be put roughly closer to the retained land? It didn't really say it.
So through the chair, it appears to be from the east limit of the proposed severance to the west. I can certainly follow up with development engineering to clarify the condition.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It didn't seem clear which side of the lot would be appropriate for improved sightlines. That's all.
Okay.
So yeah, if you could follow up, that'd be good. Thank
Absolutely. So to the chair, yes, that's correct.
Through the chair, yeah, I had a question for the agent or applicant, but they're not here, so I'll just make a comment. So I was going to ask them about the elevation seems quite steep, seems rolling steep. So I was just wondering about, I was going to ask them questions about drainage for that. It's a pretty steep hill, in my opinion. And there's already water problems already, and then I don't know about the. See, when you get a heavy rain there, it's going to go right into the new house. I don't know, but they're not here to answer that.
Yep, through the chair to Member Vamos. So we did note that as well. So through one of the conditions, it is the site development plan and agreement that's going to be required, and that is actually specifically relating to the grading of their property.
Through the chair, it's not directed at staff, it's just a comment. I believe if the applicant doesn't want to show up, why should we be approving it? Should be deferred. Yes, but I think, yes, that should be modified to add that. So.
Does you wish to proceed with the motion?
Okay. Yeah, I will move that we defer application 8B6-23LG due to the lack of the owner or the applicant or agent to be able to ask questions, and leave it at that.
I will now call the vote.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
So we've already put a motion and voted to defer it. Want to, before we go ahead, put another motion to put it back on the agenda, or we could just let the agent know that it's deferred to next week. Leave that to the decide.
Well, he's still not physically in the building, so I believe we should proceed with the next application.
He's on Zoom.
Oh, he's on Zoom. Oh, I see now. Was he in there earlier?
He's just joining the meeting now.
Okay. You want to advise him that it has been heard or and committee will discuss?
Good evening. We're going to take a quick 1-minute recess. Mr. Ziotek, the agent for application B623LG 17 McVeigh Road. Can you hear me okay?
Hello.
Hi there.
Yes, I'm sorry. I had my sound off. Yes, I can hear you.
We just had your application presented. The committee has voted to defer this application for 1 month. Would you be able to come back next month to speak to this application? There was a few questions and there wasn't any.
Oh, okay.
They weren't addressed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you can get me the information for the next meeting, that'd be great. I can address the issues.
Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you so much.
And is there any way I can get I guess a copy of the questions that were asked or that need some further information?
As soon as the meeting is over tomorrow, I'll reach out to you and get everything you need.
Excellent. That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Aye.
This is a consent application for the parcel identified as roll number 35900 within the geographic township of Burford. Just not displaying. Display. Would you like me to proceed? So this is a consent application for the parcel identified as roll number 35900 within the geographic township of Brantford. The subject lands are located north of Colburn Street East, east of Papa Road, and west of Jerseyville Road. The subject lands are vacant and irregular in shape with a lot frontage of approximately 143.73 meters along Colburn Street East and a lot area of approximately 9,833.86 square meters. The benefiting parcel at 1388 to 1392 Colburn Street East contains 2 existing buildings. The lands are irregular in shape with a lot frontage of approximately 94.69 meters along Colburn Street East and a lot area of approximately 5,867.94 square meters. The surrounding area consists of a combination of industrial and commercial land uses. The subject lands are serviced by municipal water and septic. The applicant is proposing a lot line adjustment with an area of approximately 1,335.46 square meters being severed and consolidated with 1388 Colburn Street East to increase the parcel's functionality and allow for efficient future development. The parcel to be severed and conveyed is currently vacant and does not have frontage. No new building lots or development are being proposed at this time. Future development will be subject to technical review as part of the site plan control application. The subject lands are designated general commercial within the County of Brant official plan and located within the secondary urban settlement boundary of Canesville. The lands are zoned as general commercial C2 within the County of Brant zoning bylaw 6116. No public comments were received as part of the public circulation. I am recommending approval of the consent application for the reasons outlined in my report. It is my professional recommendation that consent application B623LG be approved subject to the attached conditions. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of committee. My name is Ruchika Angrish. It's really hard to hear online for some reason. I do not have anything else to add. We have read through the conditions and hoping that the committee approves the application for this lot line adjustment. Happy to answer any questions.
Member Hamilton has a question. Please go ahead.
Hopefully you can hear this. Through the chair to the agent. I noticed when I was looking there at the very north end of the proposed area, there seems to be, I don't know if there's a ditch or a drainage area along there from that trucking place behind it into that, and just wondered if, where that goes and if that was going to interfere with anything. It's also on the Bray side as well as where the lot line, and I don't know, I think it heads off then to the northeast, down probably towards Fairchilds Creek.
Through you, Chair, to Member Hamilton. I do not believe there's any changes to the grading or any other matters that are being proposed. Since there's no development on both the benefiting lands as well as the retained parcel, any such information will come through when we start working on any studies, or if once there's a development proposal, and then all these matters related to grading and drainage and such can be addressed.
Thank you.
Any further comments or questions from committee? It appears there are none, so I'll ask the committee to provide a motion. Member Emmett, please state your motion. Thank you. Is there a seconder for this motion? Member Vamus. I'll now call the vote on this application, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Member Schmidt.
Yes.
Member Vamus.
Yes.
Member Hamilton.
Yes.
Member Penag.
Yes.
And Brown, yes. The motion has carried. The application has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will now introduce item 6.5 for application B4A1, A2, and A2 23 LG, and turn it over to staff for the presentation of the report and the recommendations.
This is a consent and minor variance applications for lands located at 374 Maple Avenue South within the geographic township of Burford. The subject lands are located south of Rutherford Street, west of Park Avenue, and east of Maple Ave South. The subject lands contain one existing dwelling, a detached garage, and in-ground swimming pool. The detached garage and in-ground pool will be removed upon approval of this application. The existing lot is rectangular in shape with a lot area of 5,045.73 square meters and a frontage of 59.65 meters. There is an existing hydro service along the south of the property line, which services the lands to the rear of the property at 3 Park Avenue. As part of a technical review, it has been established an easement is required or the existing hydro service be relocated. The subject lands are within the Built and Cultural Heritage Area and located on the County of Brant Heritage Inventory. As a result of a technical review and comments received from the Heritage Committee, a Cultural Heritage Evaluation Report will be required as a condition of the consent application. There are 3 parts to this application. Part 1 proposes the creation of 1 new residential lot within the settlement boundary of Burford on private services. The severed lands will have an area of approximately 2,520.60 square meters and a frontage of 29.83 meters along Maple Avenue South. The retained lands contain the existing dwelling and will have an area of 2,525.13 square meters and a frontage of 29.83 meters along Maple Avenue South. Part 2 is a minor variance application for the retained lands. The applicant is seeking relief from Section 9, Table 9.2.1 to permit a minimum lot area of 2,525.13 square meters, whereas a minimum of 3,000 square meters is required, and to permit a minimum lot frontage of 29.83 meters, whereas a minimum of 30 meters is required. And part 3 is a minor variance for the severed lands. The applicant is seeking relief from section 9, table 9.2.1 to permit a minimum lot area of 2,520.6 square meters, whereas a minimum of 3,000 square meters is required, and to permit the minimum lot frontage of 29.83 meters, whereas a minimum of 30 meters is required. The subject lands are designated as urban residential within the County of Brant official plan and located within the secondary urban settlement boundary of Burford. The lands are zoned as built in cultural heritage area, suburban residential within the County of Brant zoning bylaw 6116. No public comments were received as part of the public circulation. I am recommending approval of the consent and minor variance applications for the reasons outlined in my report. It is my professional recommendation that applications B423LG, A123LG, and A223LG be approved subject to the attached conditions. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Lauren, for the presentation. I'll ask the committee members, do you have any questions or comments to staff? Member Hamilton?
Through the chair to staff, just looking at condition 7 and 8, 7 states there's an easement, but 8 states that one of the options is to relocate the service, hydro service. Can you explain the difference between the two, please?
Through the chair to Member Hamilton. So the applicant has advised that they have actually spoken to the property owners of 3 Park Avenue, who the hydro service is servicing, and they are talking about potentially relocating or removing the hydro lines because they have an option for another service. So we allowed that as an option so they don't have to do the easement.
Okay, so it's an either or situation.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Any further comments or questions? Member Hamilton?
Just to follow up, it's going back to 3 Park Ave. Is that the commercial building at the back, the old fertilizer plant, or is it the office only?
Through the chair, I believe it's the commercial building at the rear of the property that it's servicing.
Okay. All right, yeah, that's what I figured. So it's probably heavy duty hydro versus a normal line coming into a house. So, okay, thank you.
Further comments or questions? I had a question on condition 8 regarding at what point does that have to be agreed upon? Where the deeds are stamped, or?
Through the chair, yes. So they would have to meet one of the conditions at least before the deeds can be stamped.
Okay, so the decision's made. Thank you. Any other comments, questions? And with that, I believe the agent is online.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Do you have anything you wish to add to staff report on this application, these applications?
Just a further comment on the questions about the hydro. The owner of 3 Park Ave, myself and Grambridge met yesterday. They require a 3-phase 400 amp service. The service coming in through Maple Ave is maxed out at about 175, 180 amps. So they are looking at providing a new transformer on Park Ave and providing full 400 amps through Park Ave. The reason we asked for the development agreement and this third option was the owner has went through significant financial stress to get to where she was, and pushing it along was going to be a big burden on her. So just because my wife and I don't plan on building in Burford till the following year, it relieves her of any need to do today when she knows she has to get power from Park Ave in the near future. So we're just trying to, not push someone who's already trying to get by and get her operation running.
Thank you. Do committee members have any questions to the applicant? Member Vamus?
Yes,
Go ahead.
through the chair to the applicant. Has the water ever been tested at 374 Maple Ave? Like by the health unit or samples ever taken, the quality?
Yes, prior to purchase, we did as one of our conditions for purchase of the property.
As you know, there's always a problem with the Burford water. There's health unit has notices posted, you know, different establishments on the doors and windows with the water quality. And I'm just wondering, this new lot's going to need a new well, so we're going to be tapping into some more, you know, water problems. And then the septic, it's another septic system to add to the problem already. There's a problem with the water quality there in Burford. I just want to know if it was tested and it passed the test for the health unit.
Yes, it came back as all zeros. Yeah, it was one of our concerns being that the factory, well, what I assumed was a factory at one point, was located behind. So we wanted to make sure that there was no long-standing damage to the water in the area.
Yeah, my point was there's quite a few houses in Burford, and there's a lot of wells and a lot of septics, and they're all close side by side, so everything's kind of too close. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions from the committee, staff, or applicant? I believe there are none. With that, I will request of the committee to put forth a motion. Member Hamilton, can I have your motion?
Before I do that, I just wanted, are we going to make three motions?
I would
One for the
agree.
severance and then one for each thing? Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was,
Sorry, I should have clarified.
yeah, no, not a problem.
So-
Yeah, I'll make a motion, that we, approve the severance of B4-23 LG, because, it does meet the, official plan and the, zoning bylaws of the County of Brant.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for the motion? Member Schmidt? I'll now call the motion to a vote, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Member Schmidt?
Yes.
Member Vamus?
Yes.
Member Hamilton?
Yes. Member
Penag?
Yes.
And Brown? Yes. The motion to sever for application B423 has been approved. I'll now request a motion for A123. Member Hamilton, please go ahead.
I move that we approve minor variance A1-23 LG because it's minor in nature and it fulfills the County of Brant bylaws.
Thank you. Seconder? Member Vamus? I'll now call the vote, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Member Schmidt?
Yes.
Member Vamus?
Yes.
Member Hamilton?
Yes.
Member Penag?
Yes.
And Brown, yes. The motion for application A123 has been approved, and Member Hamilton, I'll request you make the motion on A223.
I move that we accept or approve minor variance A2-23-LG because it's minor in nature and it meets the official plan of the County of Brant as well as its bylaws.
Thank you. And Member Vamus, would you like to second that one?
Sure.
Thank you. I'll now call the vote, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Member Schmidt.
Yes.
Member Vamus.
Yes.
Member Hamilton.
Yes.
Member Penag.
Yes.
And Brown, yes. Motion for A223 has carried. That application has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And we will now move to item 7, where it's indicated that the next meeting is scheduled for April 20th, 2023. And again, it will be a hybrid meeting starting at 6:00 p.m. And moving to item 8 on our adjournment, may I please get a motion to adjourn the meeting? Member Schmidt, seconded. Member Emmett, and I'll just ask all in favor to raise your hand. State your motion first, though, please.
My motion is to the meeting to be minute.
Thank you. And now I'll ask for everyone to state if you're in favor. Please raise your hand. Yeah. Thank you. I now declare the meeting